Yo, it's JP. Happy New Year. I'm going to talk today about sexual harassment and sexual assault cases, but I'm going to focus specifically on cases that arise in the context of law firms. Okay, there's an open secret in the legal profession is that sexual harassment and sexual assault is fairly prevalent at law firms, including at large law firms. I'm talking 500 lawyers, 1,000 lawyers, nationally known, internationally known, the biggest law firms in the world. These places tend to be an absolute hotbed of sexual harassment and sexual assault. People frequently ask me, in terms of industries, where do we see the most sexual harassment, sexual assault cases emerging? Well, construction, definitely. Anything that is construction or attached to construction, male-dominated field, women working in construction, frequently subject to sexual harassment, even outright sexual assault. Retail, that's another one, okay? Big retail chains, Walmart, places like that, lots of sexual harassment and sexual assault. What else stands out or comes to mind? Law firms. And I know that might shock a lot of people, but when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, okay? Law as an industry and as a system is rampantly dysfunctional and in many instances nakedly corrupt. I used to say it's occasionally corrupt. It's more than occasionally corrupt. It is routinely corrupt. It's almost always dysfunctional and it is routinely corrupt. And this particular area of case law, this particular type of situation, that's no exception to the rule. We see lots of sexual harassment and sexual assault cases coming out of a law firm environment. Now, I'm sure this happens in situations involving male-on-male sexual harassment or female-on-male sexual harassment. I'm sure that happens, but in my experience, when we're talking about the law firm cases, I typically see the same fact patterns play out over and over again, the same dynamic play out over and over again. So I'm going to stick with what I know and what I have seen, all right? Right now, present day, January 2025, we have four sexual harassment, sexual assault cases involving law firms. And 3 out of those 4 law firms are fairly big law firms. 2 of them, if I named them, everybody's going to know them. They have 1,000+ lawyers. They are internationally known, some of the biggest law firms in the world, okay? So how and why does this happen and what does it look like, all right? First, the typical fact pattern involves a partner who is a man 50 years old or older. I have seen these folks range from about, 45 to almost 80, right? 77, 78 years old, right? So generally we're looking at like 45 and up, male partner, well-established in the firm. And these folks typically fall into 3 different categories in terms of the power structure, okay? One, you have guys who are rainmakers, all right? They control tremendous amounts of revenue, business, clients. They have a huge book of business. They make so much money for their respective firms that they are effectively untouchable. I've had a number of law firm sexual harassment, sexual assault cases. And when I say sexual assault, I will get into it, outright sexual assault. That's one thing people need to understand, right? A lot of times you'll hear people say, well, it's just harassment or you're just getting handsy. Like, fuck that, okay? Like, somebody getting handsy with you is sexual assault, all right? And the whole Joe Paterno-esque just horseplay, fuck that and fuck people who think that way, all right? Nobody has the right to put their fucking hands on you. Certainly not your boss, okay? So sexual harassment, sexual assault, the partners who are doing this fall into generally 3 different categories. One is the rainmaker, okay? And you have to understand how much money some of these folks control. There are specific individual lawyers who control 30, 40, $50 million of revenue in a single year at a law firm. those people are effectively untouchable. We've had multiple cases where a partner who controlled vast amounts of money and revenue and billable hours was essentially, the guy was a predator. He was sexually harassing and sexually assaulting women in the workplace left and right. And the firm knew about it. Other partners knew about it. HR knew about it. And what did they do? They brushed it under the rug for years until finally we showed up and the partner quietly made an exit, right? But this guy, he had been there for years doing the exact same thing and getting away with it. Why? Revenue, cost of doing business. Even if we show up and pop these people for $1 million, okay, or $2 million or $3 million top end, they do the math. They're like, my God, this guy generated, over X years, hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't mind paying out $3 million, right? That's how they look at it. It's the cost of doing business, right? They're not going to do the right thing. They're not going to do the right. They only ultimately did the right thing when the writing was on the wall, and there was a significant chance of them getting popped for massive punitive damages because law firms, right? Big law firms, very hated in society. And as a defendant, okay, you don't want to be a big law firm that's a defendant, because a jury, we have a mediator who we use all the time, and he will always tell you, like, you're a big law firm and you're the defendant in the case, you got a fucking problem, okay? But that's one, you got the rainmakers. Two, you have the essential knowledge worker, okay? Basically, this is somebody who has a specialty, a niche practice where their services are in very high demand. They're the ones who actually do the work. And so from the firm's vantage point, that person is necessary, that person is insulated, that person's protected. Bucket three that these folks often fall into, and this is just the general contours, this is what I see. You get the guy who is there because he's on the friends and family plan, okay? Just give you an example that pops to the top of my head. I'm not accusing this guy of sexual harassment or sexual assault at all. I'm just giving you an example of the type of person who's on the friends and family plan. Hunter Biden, that's your friends and family guy, right? Like literally, like I used to work at Boies Schiller, okay, which is a big, mega prominent law firm. Guess who else worked at Boies Schiller? Hunter worked there, right? After I left Boies Schiller and already started my own firm, I found out Hunter worked there, and I was like, the fuck you say? Hunter works at Boies Schiller? Yeah, he's on the friends and family plan, okay? Every big law firm has, every big law firm at a certain point is going to have literally dozens of people on the friends and family plan. Most of them get buried in staff positions, but every once in a while, you'll have a lawyer at a big firm who's counsel or partner, and he's right because daddy got him a position and he's on the friends and family plan and he's insulated and he's protected and he's fucking running amok, right? So you see, those are the general buckets or the contours right there. Now, how does this map out in terms of the actual harassment and assault? Well, there's a number of different fact patterns that you see. Typically, these cases involve the male, senior, established partner sexually harassing and even outright sexually assaulting support staff. That's how most of these cases are. We're talking paralegals, legal assistants, receptionists, anything else at the staff level. We do also see cases involving partners sexually harassing, sexually assaulting associate attorneys, but the majority of these cases tend to involve sexual harassment or sexual assault of support staff as opposed to other attorneys. What's this look like in terms of how it starts out? Well, frequently you have the young woman, okay, generally younger, generally a woman, typically 30 years old or younger. She joins the firm, and the senior partner, okay, the perp, this guy shows up. He's very friendly. He's very welcoming. He's going to help you learn the ropes. He's going to take you under his wing. He's going to mentor you. You often see stuff like this in law firms, right, where the sketchy big law partner who's 55 and who's creeping on the paralegal, right, his MO is, I'm going to take you under my wing and I'm going to show you the ropes and I'm going to help you be successful here. And And then gradually that morphs into, right, constantly pressuring you to go to lunch with him, get coffee with him. A lot of times that stuff will start as group functions, right? Where it'll be like, hey, gang, let's all go get lunch. Let's all go get coffee. And then over time, it'll morph into it's just him and just you, right? That's all intentional, okay? He's setting it up originally so that it's plausible, right? Team building, let's get a lunch, this, that, the other, right? He's setting it up so that it's plausible as a team building thing. And then gradually over time, he's going to morph it into, it's just one-on-one. It's just you getting coffee. It's you getting lunch. And now you see this all the time, right? Law is crawling with alcoholics, okay? Crawling with alcoholics. And one of the techniques that these types of folks, the partners, right? One of the techniques these folks use is drinking, right? Drinking, happy hour, after work functions, pressuring subordinates to come drink with them, all right? And like, look, I'm not a prude, and everybody who knows me knows, like, I fucking like to go out and have a good time and smoke a cigar and get a couple drinks and whatever, right? But I'm not about this, right? Like, why? Because it's a boundary violation, all right? You shouldn't be in a law firm as a partner, as, you know, the person in charge, manager, what have you. You shouldn't be pressuring your subordinates to come out and drink with you. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of lawyers in Florida who that's going to piss off because that's part of their culture and that's part of what they do. But first of all, so many lawyers are alcoholics and dying of cancer and committing suicide and everything else. And drinking is a huge problem in the profession. But a lot of these guys who are the pervs, you know, the senior partner who's creeping on whoever, they use the drinking as a technique, right? Where it's like, come out, get some drinks, get loose, right? And then what they're going to do, and there are people watching this video who are like, holy fuck, how does Pollard know all this? Because I've seen so many of these cases. I do so many of these cases involving law firms and big law firms because I guess a lot of other attorneys are afraid to go after big law firms. I'm not. I mean, there's some big law firms that I know and that I like and that I trust and that I've even hired before. But there are a lot of other big law firms out there that are just abject trash and terrible human beings. And they let this stuff go unchecked because they're making money and they don't care, right? So I got no problem speaking truth to power. But so here you go, right? They're going to use the perf. They're going to use whatever opportunities they have to move the conversation, the dynamic, the relationship, the topics of discussion. They're going to use whatever tools they have to move that away from work and into your personal life, okay? Seeing it time and time again. So you've got the group outings, they turn into one-on-one outings, the pressure to go out, go drinking, want to talk about your life, Well, you got to shut that down, okay? Law firm partner, your boss at work, and this applies outside of law firms, but I just see this happening, you know, with tremendous frequency inside of law firms. Anytime a managing partner or a partner who you work with or for starts prying into your personal life, you shut that down, right? Especially when we talk about relationships. It's mind-blowing how many situations we have, how many of these cases we've dealt with where, you know, early on in the paralegal or the subordinate female support staff or the junior associate, how many times in these situations the partner has started prying into like, so you got a boyfriend, you dating, you married, whatever. Like, that's none of their fucking business. That's none of their fucking business, okay? Keep it separated, right? Keep it separated, all right? But so they move in that direction. Whenever it's a paralegal or support staff or a very junior attorney, one of the other techniques that these folks use is they'll blow you up all the time, right? After hours, okay? In the evening. You know, they want to keep a constant sort of channel of communication, right? And I understand lawyers work long hours, but these people, they go out of their way to insert themselves into your personal life and into your personal time. Now, for the real kicker, okay? I've seen this so many times. They create excuses for you to either have to go into their office or them to go into your office, okay? So stuff that could be handled via an email, via a phone call at most, they're going to insist that these things be done in person, face to face, okay? And this is where you get the partners doing the creepiest shit I've ever seen, right? I've had multiple cases where this senior partner, these ones are like normally 60, 70 or up, okay? They go into the subordinate woman's office, whether it's paralegal, legal assistant, whatever, junior attorney. They go into her office and they make her pull up a document on a computer, on a laptop, on a monitor, and then they lean over her, right? Get all in her personal space. They're all over her, touching her. Sometimes we have had multiple cases where the senior partner had an erection and he'd be pressing it into the woman's back, right? In her office, totally like turned on, like this is his fun playtime, right? Rubbing his body all over, all up in her personal space, massaging her shoulders. We've got lots of those, right? Other things we see frequently, the creepy 65, 70-year-old partner who wants his daily hug, right? The fuck is that, right? Like, do I work with people who I give hugs to? Yes, because some of us are like that. But that situation where you've got like the 65-year-old partner or 70-year-old partner, total fucking creeper perv going around the office demanding his hugs from women, I've seen that multiple times, okay? So what do you do? Right? When you're in one of these situations. I've dealt with so many situations where the woman who is being subjected to this harassment and this sexual assault, like, again, back to my earlier point, if somebody is touching you without your consent, that is sexual assault. So what do you do? Okay? Because, if you report this type of behavior, there's a good chance that, one, nothing is going to be done about it, or two, you're going to be fired. Well, that's up to you, okay? That's up to you. I wouldn't take this sort of conduct lying down, okay? Somebody's doing that to you at work, a partner in charge, a boss, a senior lawyer. If somebody is doing that to you at work, it is totally unacceptable, okay? Even if at one point you were in a romantic relationship with a partner, I see lots of those cases, okay? Lots of those cases where a partner is romantically involved, having an affair, sleeping with, et cetera, paralegal, legal assistant, junior attorney, or whatever, and then the woman breaks it off, and then the partner basically holds her job over her head and is like, if you're not going to be in a relationship with me, you're not going to be sleeping with me, like, that's it. Like, your job is on the line, right? And sometimes they do this, they do it like open and notorious, or they do it more covertly, where they start trying to create a paper trail to document poor performance and then force the person out, right? So, right, everything is great, hunky-dory, great performance, but then, the woman ends the relationship, the partner's pissed off, and he starts trashing her performance to run her out the door, right? You see either way. You see either the, you stop sleeping with me, you're fired, or you see the fake paper trail, bogus performance reviews, and then force them out, okay? Either way, these situations are actionable. Either way, these situations frequently involve hostile work environment, violations of whatever relevant state Civil Rights Act, State Discrimination Act, federal Title VII, and then cases that involve any sort of unwanted touching, unwanted physical contact. I am kind of an outlier in the sense that when we started pursuing these types of cases several years ago, had a lot of defense lawyers kind of look at me sideways when I ran them as negligence or negligent retention, negligent supervision with the underlying tort of battery. I had a lot of defendants look at me like, well, it's just sexual harassment. No, when you start touching people without their consent, that's assault and battery, and that puts you squarely in the wheelhouse of tort. So we have a bunch of these cases right now. Apparently, this is something that is an ongoing problem in society, and that's just going to continue. And one of the reasons why it's going to continue is because lawyers know the law, they know the system, they're connected, they're powerful, they have a bunch of money, et cetera, et cetera. but the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So you have rights, you have options. You don't have to take this stuff lying down. If you're going through a situation like this right now, you need to do something about it, okay? You need to report to HR, you need to report to the firm's leadership, and if it's really that bad, you need to leave the firm and then worry about pursuing your rights and remedies after you have left. If you're in a dangerous situation, you gotta get yourself to safety, because yes, I do have cases right now where a partner at a big firm, I have cases where a partner at a big firm has tried to strangle a woman, where a partner at a big firm has broken into a woman's house after their relationship ended. I have a whole bunch of these cases, and they can sometimes be ugly city. So safety first, worry about your legal rights and remedies later, but you do have them. So don't take it lying down. Be easy. JP.